Hello my friend, welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to show you step by step the technique that I have mastered over the last 20 years, how to apply watercolor paper right over canvas for a perfect bond, sort of perfectly straight adhesion, so that you can then have your watercolor, really as a canvas piece that you can frame, you can varnish if you want, and it's just a great way to see your watercolor paper without having to put it under glass. My name is Sergio Gomez. I'm an artist, curator, gallery owner, author, and co-founder of the Art Next Level program. And my goal with this channel is to make marketing and art business easy so that you can grow your art career, find new opportunities, sell more art, and spend more time creating in the studio. So if you like that, make sure you click on the subscribe button and click on the little bell so that you receive notifications of our future videos. I want to show you my technique that I've been using on how to, again, adhere watercolor paper or any other type of heavyweight paper into a canvas in a perfect, flat, way, so that it has perfect adhesion. So then you can do all kinds of things that you want. Like, for example, this one that you see right here, which is one of my latest. This, what you'll see in the middle, is watercolor paper. You don't see any bubbles, it's perfectly flat. And what I actually done is now it's become a mixed media piece because I created this face around the watercolor, just by using impasto heavy paint, black paint all around, and creating this right here, this face, which is actually a companion to this other piece right here. So there are two faces looking at each other, and here's the second one. Both of them, are done on watercolor paper, which I love, and it just looks great. As you can see the back, it's just a regular canvas piece. Looks amazing, looks fabulous, even just hanging by themselves, like next to each other. And it's just a great way. I love paper. People have asked me, Sergio, why don't you just paint it on canvas? And I do. I have done paintings, many paintings actually, who are straight on canvas. But there's something about paper that I love. I'm fascinated by paper. And if you're watching this video or you're interested in this video, it's probably because, just like me, you have some fascination with paper and you love paper. The way paper absorbs the pigments, the color, particularly watercolor paper, the way it absorbs it is very different from what you experience with canvas. And that's why I love paper. I can get these really, really beautiful surfaces that I just cannot get as easily on a canvas piece. So what I love also about adhering it to a canvas, and in this case to a already pre-stretched canvas, is that, as I mentioned in the intro, I can do other things. I can apply textures, I can paint over it if I want to, I can draw over it, I can use charcoal, I can do anything I want on top of that surface, or I can leave it as is, which is another option that you have. And it's just a great way to work, and the piece is now permanently adhered to the canvas. Now, I have done other videos which maybe you have seen on how to adhere huge large paper sheets to canvas, and I have a whole video about that has been doing really, really well. You can watch that here, and I'm gonna put also a link at the end or under the description of this video, so that you can check that video out too if you want to do something huge, like 40 inches by 72 inches, which is the size of my larger pieces. Now those are done on unstretched canvas. What I want to show you today is how to do it on a pre-stretched canvas. So it's ready to roll, and it's going to look fabulous and beautiful. So what you need, of course, is your watercolor paper. Now you can do this with already an existing image on it, or you can do it on a blank, piece of paper that then you will make your watercolor on top of it, or paint on top of that, which, by the way, you can use watercolor paper, you can use mixed media paper. I'm going to put some options under the description. I love mixed media paper. I also love watercolor paper. As long as it's heavyweight paper, as you can see here, it's okay. And now I purposely picked a piece right now that is kind of already rolled up, because it's really hard to work when the paper is already rolled up. So I purposely did that, so it's a little bit more difficult, and you can see how easy actually this technique works. So I selected a work in progress. Oops. Right now is just kind of an abstract piece, which once it's mounted, I'll probably work on it more. Kind of like what happened to these ones, right? I started working on them, and then I started to see a face, and then a second face, and then like, oh, I think I should do a pair, right? One face facing each other. That's where the idea came up, by just looking at some of the abstract shapes that I already had on my paper. So I'm gonna do the same because I really like that technique. So what you need is, of course, your paper that you're going to use. Paper should be a little bit bigger than your canvas. So here is a canvas piece, regular canvas that you can buy at the store or you can make yourself. Super easy, nothing special about it. It's just a pre-stretched canvas. It's right here. You are going to need a little bucket with water, so make sure you have that. You're gonna need a nice brush so that you can spread the adhesive. You're going to need spray bottle. Super important to have spray bottle, so make sure you get one. You're gonna need either scissors or a knife or an X-Acto knife so that you can just trim the paper around the canvas, so to get a right size. And for adhesive, what we're going to use matte medium, which is acrylic matte medium. Looks like this. It's there we go. Now it's falling. It's great material. It is really wonderful to work with because it's flexible. It won't crack over time. It won't turn yellow. It will not damage your paper. It's totally safe. It's acrylic base, and I think you're going to love working with it. It's one of those mediums that I've been using for years, and I just love it. As you can see, I buy it by the gallons because I use it a lot. You don't have to buy it by the gallons. You can actually, get a smaller one if you just want to test it around first. It lasts a long time, and we're gonna use this. And I'm gonna put again the links to all my materials, under the description of this video so that you can access it super, super easy. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is trim the paper, right? Get the paper to the right size of the canvas. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my canvas. You wanna use a nice working table. This is just one of those 6-foot foldable tables, nothing fancy. I'm gonna take my paper and I'm gonna put the canvas on top of it, facing down, like so, right here. And I'm going to see where I want to cut, where I want to trim this piece of paper. So after that, there's two ways which you can trim this paper. You can either take a pen or pencil and just draw a box around it and then just cut it with scissors, or you can use a knife or an X-Acto knife or a utility knife to just trim all around. Be careful not to cut into the canvas. Be careful also not to go too crooked. Try to keep it as straight as you can. Once it's all dried up, after you adhere it, you will have a chance to go back with with a knife, either with an X-Acto knife or with a razor blade, which is typically what I use. You can just always shave off some of the extras on the edges. That's not a big problem. Now, before I do this, I should say I have done it also sometimes where if I want like the rough edges of the paper to show, right, then I have to make sure that the paper that I use is a little smaller than the canvas, so that on the edge of the canvas you can see some of that paper. Again, it's up to you. You choose. Depends what you want to do. Most of the time, these pieces, at the end of the day, once they go to a collector home, they would probably be framed, so it really won't matter. But something for you to think about when you show them. I don't always show them framed, so I would easily show these as they are, hanging on a gallery, because I paint all the way to the edge of the canvas, so they look nice and clean. All right, so let me go and trim this piece first. All right, this is done. This is just extra paper, which I don't need. I'm gonna throw it under the table for now, clean it up later. So now my paper is perfect to the size that I need it. In fact, it's just a hair bigger, which is okay, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I can always trim it. So this is the part that I'm gonna use. Actually, I like it. It's quite interesting. It's got some interesting markings and colors that I can work with. Like I said, I'm gonna keep working on it, to come up with something cool, something very nice at the end of it. But I think it's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna just double check it I think it looks really good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna need two things. I'm gonna need my brush, my spray bottle. I'm just gonna put right now my brush in the water so it starts to get moist. Right now, it's just my brush right there. I don't need the scissors or the knife anymore, so I'm gonna put this away. And I don't need this. Put that away. Keep my area clean. You want to make sure that you don't get any dust or dirt. So I actually had this canvas piece covered with plastic right before the video, and then I opened it so that it's clean. You don't want any dirt or dust on it. You want to do this on a clean space. Make sure you do that. Same with the paper. If it's been in a closet or somewhere, just make sure that it's nice and clean. Give it a nice clean all around, because you don't want to get packets of air, which a lot of times the packet of air will come because you have dirt between the canvas and the paper. So you don't want that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to soak the paper with water. So I'm going to put my canvas here on the side, and I'm going to put my paper here. I'm going to put it face down so it starts easier. And I am going to take my spray bottle and just start putting water on this paper, which is going to start absorbing the water right away. Now, if you plan to use charcoal, or if you want to use pastels or oil sticks, of course you probably you want to mount it first and then work on your artwork, versus what I'm doing right now. Because if you do it first, then you can work on any medium once it's already adhered to the canvas. But if you have charcoal or any medium that can smear, as you will see when you start taking your brush and really making the paper wet, as I am doing right now, which is what you want to do. Even though I'm doing it from the back side, you still do not want that charcoal or medium, to get smeared and totally ruin the artwork, right? So it's entirely up to you. Now, so the whole purpose of this is to evenly wet the paper. And as I'm doing this, because it's watercolor paper, is absorbing the water, and that's what I want. I want to soften the paper. Paper will be nice and soft. Don't be scared of it. Now, I also would recommend, if you have a beautiful, masterful piece that you want to do this, and this is the first time you try something like this, first do it on a work that you can test on. It could be a piece that you don't exactly is your, you consider it your best piece ever, just in case something goes wrong your first time. Maybe do it with something that you want to test and try. So the whole goal is to have it nicely, evenly wet. You want it, so how wet is wet, right? How much should I keep doing this? And I would suggest, once you'll see that the paper is flat, if you're working on a watercolor, but when it dries, it's all wavy. Well, after you start applying water again, it should start flattening it out. Now, you also want to make sure that you put enough water on the corners. So I've noticed that sometimes when I'm doing this, I pay a lot of attention to the middle of the piece, but not the corners. So the corners end up being kind of stiff. So, you want to do that. You want to make sure that, it's wet enough where it is very soft and flat. I'm going to then do the other side, the side with the image. Again, being careful, particularly on the edges. I don't want to rip the paper. It's easy to rip when it's wet. It's heavier than normal because it has absorbed a lot of the water. So on this side, I'm just going to use my spray bottle right now. And then just to go over the whole thing. You want to make sure you use clean water. It's not going to affect the image, just the water, it's the image is already on the paper. Watercolor is like a stain process, so the paper is already has to absorb the pigments, and just the water by itself, it doesn't do any damage to the surface. I can look at the paper. It looks very good. I think I'm ready to apply the adhesive. So I'm just gonna give it one more strain on this side. And again, I've done this so many times that I kind of get a feel of what wetness I want. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So I'm gonna put this on the side. And I forgot to mention, make sure also that your table is clean, right? When you do this, make sure that your table is clean. Otherwise, your paper can pick up dirt that's on the table. So I'm gonna take my piece of canvas, put it right here on the table. I'm going to spray a little bit on it too, get it also moist. So again, just dip this on the water a little bit. Now, of course, the bigger the canvas, the longer it will take. Like these ones were much bigger piece. But for the video, I wanted to do something smaller, not too big, so it wouldn't take too long. Just put this on. And I think I have a nice wet surface. Also, when you apply water to the canvas, you'll feel that the canvas begins to stretch a little bit, become a little bit tighter, which is good. It's a good thing. You want that, right? I'm gonna open here my acrylic gel medium, and I'm going to just dip the brush and just apply it nicely on and generously on the surface of my canvas. It is very important that also you don't have like build up, too much build up, right? So because canvas has a texture, I'm going into directions, right? Vertically and horizontally this way and then this way, just to make sure the adhesive gets on the entire surface. You want to make sure that there's not one spot that doesn't have adhesive. You want to make sure it's nicely done. So that's why you want a nice brush that you can do this with. And while I do this, I want to also let you know that in this channel here, my channel, Sergio Gomez Art, you will find not only my technique of how I do my work, how I ship my art and so on, but you will find a lot of also great advice for your art career. I've been doing videos for a long time, because besides being an artist, I'm also a gallery owner. I have a gallery here in Florida. It's called 33 Contemporary Gallery. We show artists from around the world. And I have been art curator now for over 20 years. I have curated over 200 exhibitions. When I say, nowadays everybody says, oh, I'm a curator. Well, I actually have the track record to prove it. I have over 200 exhibits that I have curated in Chicago, all across the United States, different countries as well. And you can find all that information on my website at Sergio Gomez Art if you want to see more of my work. But also, besides that, because I love working and helping artists, I also created, along with my wife, Dr. Ana Gomez, we created a community, a platform for artists called the Artist Next Level. It's a wonderful community where we coach and help artists with all their marketing, sales, all the business aspects, all the mindset and wellness, that we as artists, we need to take care of in order to be successful, right? We believe that in order to succeed as an artist, you have to work from the inside out. Now, notice how I'm coming back again to the top and then again, just putting a little bit more adhesive. You don't want a coat that's too thin. You don't want to spread it too much, but at the same time, you don't want to have build up. So it's kind of a nice fine line between the two. And you want to work rather fast too, because you don't want the paper to dry too much either. So anyway, I was telling you about this wonderful community that we started about 10 years ago. It's a coaching program. It's great. We have artists from around the world. It's called Art Next Level. And if you want to find more information, if you want to learn how to grow your art career, how to sell your art, how to market your art in a noisy world, well, we're here to help. And you can actually check out my library of videos here in YouTube, with all great advice for your art career. And I'm going to put also on there this video under the description a link to the Artist Next Level. Okay, now I have a really nice coat of adhesive. It looks really good. I make sure I covered everything. Sometimes I like to see it against the light because that will allow you to see, if there's a part that I missed. But looks really good. Paper is still nicely wet. And now here's the little difficult part, which is lining up the paper to the canvas. So sometimes what I will do is I will roll the paper a little bit just so that I can line it up on one side and see if I can get it like that. Make any adjustments as I need. Well, actually that landed perfectly. Well, maybe a little bit no. I might need to adjust a little bit. So to adjust, just pull up again. Don't put much pressure so that you can still move it around. Just be very careful if you need to move it all again so that you get it exactly how you want it. Don't worry if you get a little bit of a packet here or there. That could be fixed. We're going to fix that. So if totally you get it wrong, just pick it up and try it again. Try it again. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky because the paper keeps moving, but do not worry. Everything is fine. As long as you do it right away, you'll be good. All right, I think the edges are good. Now I see that there's some air, so I'm going to just lift the corners and just from the middle start pulling out with my hands like this. Now you can also use a roller, and I have a roller. You can use a printmaking roller, which works great as well. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this and I'm going to go wash my brush. So then I'm actually going to use my brush to remove all the air packets and make a perfect adhesion. All right, brush has been cleaned, so I'm just going to clean it up a little bit further here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a center of the paper and work my way this way, and then work my way that way. Just putting pressure against the surface of the paper all the way to the edge of the canvas. And by doing so, see, I'm not like just painting, I'm actually applying pressure so that it pushes out all the air bubbles, all the air gaps that might be around. There will be. Maybe you might not see them right now, but they are there. I know they're there. So I'm going to do that because I'm a right-handed. I'm just going to turn it around. I find that I apply better pressure if I go this way. So I'm doing the same thing. So applying pressure over the canvas, over the surface, over the paper. And again, working from the center out, right? That's the whole idea. The reason I don't start on one side and go all the way down, sometimes as I'm going through, it might start to dry and it might be harder to push if it's a big bubble. So I find like going from the center out, I don't know, it just seems to work better for me. If you find like your brush is getting too dry or the paper is getting a little bit dry, again, I always do this. Nothing wrong with adding a little bit more moisture to the paper. And whatever you see, any gaps, I like to just go at it quite a bit, particularly on the edges, on the corners. I want to make sure I do a good job here. You can see that I can still pick it up, you see, because the adhesive is still wet. So now if you do this the first time and you find that when it's fully dry, if you can lift the paper, that means you don't have enough adhesive. You need to put more, right? That's why I say test it first, because you don't want to ruin it if this is your best work of art you have ever done, and now first time that you do this technique. I've done it, tons of times, probably hundreds of times, and so I don't have any problem now. Even if it was a fully finished piece, to do it, I wouldn't be scared of it because I've done it many times. But I have screwed up many times as well at the start when I worked on this technique. So And now it's a breeze. And I actually can see, right? As it begins to dry, it looks perfectly flat. There's no gap whatsoever. You will always see a air gap if you, or an air bubble, if you kind of look at it from the side all the way around. You'll see like a little mountain. If you happen to have that, that means there's probably a piece of dirt wherever you see that mountain that is not letting you push it down. So one option that you have is just peel one side, find where it's at, pull it out, push the pull the paper down again over the surface, and then just do this right away, right? Before showing you the very last step, I want to also mention that to all my friends here on YouTube, I have a free downloadable, which is called 21 Email Scripts to Find Better Opportunities for Your Art, which is 21 email scripts that I have collected, put together, from all my 20 plus years of being an artist. Emails, asking, for example, for funding, or asking for, meeting with a gallery owner, or following up with a collector after a purchase. I mean, you name it. 21 different email scripts that artists will need at different times of our art career, asking for support, for example, for a project, things like that. And it's totally free. You can download that. You can find it in the comments. I'm going to put it as a pinned comment. There's a link right there to my free gift. So make sure you grab that after you're done watching this video. It's going to help you out, in your art career as well. And then from that point forward, you're going to receive also the emails on all the different things that I do for artists, helping artists with their art career, helping them succeed in their art career as well. All right, my friends, this is looking fabulous. I'm really happy. And what's fun about this is that, as I'm doing this, I'm already imagining a little bit of what I might do to this artwork, which, I don't know, I might leave that for a second video to show you what I did with it. But in this video, I just want to focus on the technique. You'll see, it's already adhered. It's already, it's not going to go anywhere. However, I still want to let it dry properly and not touch it anymore. I think this is good. Drying perfectly. If you live in a warm place, like I live now in Florida, used to live in Chicago for many years, but now that I live in Florida, I can put this by the window, so it dries faster if it's close to a warmer spot. If not, just give it time, let it dry. But again, I suggest just keep an eye on it. Don't just go to the restaurant before it's fully dry. I would say within a couple hours, this will be ready for maybe 2 or 3. Depends, you have to touch it and see. Or maybe, to be 100% safe, just let it dry completely, and tomorrow you can work on it. All right, once it's dry, it looks perfectly clean. Last thing you want to do is then just cut the edges. There's 2 ways of cutting the extra paper. It's one, either you can take an X-Acto knife and put the paper facing up, then just cut with a brand new, I would say, instead of an X-Acto knife, a razor blade. Just take a razor blade, brand new, then just put it on there, and then just trim it all the way to the edge. Or what I typically do, which I like to do, is I just put it face down, take either a razor blade or an X-Acto knife or a utility knife with a brand new blade, and then just go all the way around and cut the extra edges. Once you're done with that, which now looks absolutely really nice all the way around, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the adhesive, put my finger, and then just go all the way around the piece, just to make sure I don't have any gaps between the paper and the canvas, particularly on the edges, which is where you don't want the paper to have any gaps. So just go like this, and I do this all the way around. There we go, my friend. Now this is ready. I can just let it dry for a couple more hours. I can then work on it if I want. If it was a clear or a clean white sheet of watercolor paper, I can now start working on it. Or if it was already a finished piece, I can varnish it if I want, I can spray coat it if I want, I can frame it if I want, anything I want to do with it is ready. So that's it. This is it. This completes the whole process. Once you do it a few times, you have no problem of doing it over and over. It works great, as you can see, as I showed you at the beginning. It's a great process. I love it. Hope you enjoy it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. And please don't miss the next video, who will be coming after as well with more help for your art career. Have a good day. Bye. But wait, before you leave this video, if you are an artist who wants to grow your art career and wants to achieve greater success, make sure you check out the Art Next Level program. You will find a link under this video. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the next video that we have recommended just for you.